you never like to read too much into pre-season as a football fan, and especially as a West Ham fan. Look, we've seen some freak results in pre-season over the years with different sides. Does pre-season actually matter that much? I think that's something that will always be debated by fellow football fans, but I actually think pre-season is quite important. We saw last year how much of a hit the squad took by not having a full pre-season, because obviously we did a lot of our business later in the window. The club wasn't really able to get a decent pre-season with all of their players. 8 players in total, I think. Maybe not even half of those actually got a decent pre-season with West Ham. So it definitely goes to show that a decent pre-season with a doing your business early and getting a decent pre-season in is very, very important. And it looks as though we're not making the same mistake as last year, and we are actually going for pre-season. I think we've scored 13 goals in total. Obviously, we kicked it off with a win against Boreham Wood, which we won 4-1. We then went to Perth Glory and won 6-2. And as of recording today, we beat Tottenham Hotspur 3-2. So, besides Tottenham, not hugely difficult opposition to face. No disrespect to Boreham Wood or Perth Glory, of course, but not hugely difficult opposition to face. But it's really nice to see the youth included. That's one thing that I think you'd always need to do in pre-season. I do hope that it's not just for the sake of it, though, because I often feel like David Moyes pushes the academy players in pre-season. He did it with Josh Cullen years back and Connor Coventry and Dean Garner, and then they end up getting sold. And I really don't want that to be the case. I want the players who are shining in the pre-season to get a shot in the first team. I always feel like every season's a blank canvas. And if you're playing well in pre-season, then you're giving your manager something to think about come the first game of the season. I don't want to see Moyes do what he normally does and put out these different sides and different players, and then come pre-season he just recycles to his old first team, because there's no point in that. If Freddie Potts is playing better then like Flynn Downs has been playing, he needs to start. If Fornals is playing better than Thomas Souček, then he needs to start. If Mubama has been on fire all pre-season, then don't start the season with Mikel Antonio up top. Academy players for me is a key talking point for every pre-season game, and we're going to talk about some academy players here. And I think it would be wrong not to talk about David Mubama. He's been absolutely electric in pre-season, and he's had very, very rare opportunities. He's played a few games, and he's got 2 goals already. I think he's having a really good pre-season, and to the point where David Moyes, who we know is very, very hesitant to dish out compliments and dish out good performances, has even said that we look a different side when Mubama plays because he's energetic, he runs after the ball, and that's definitely the case. We don't have too many players who are as electric and quick as Mubama, and I think that's just his hunger. He wants to play for this first team. He really, really does. He is not interested in sitting on the sidelines anymore. He's had a very good season last season for the under-21 side. I don't think he wants to go on loan. I think he feels that this is the time where he can break into the first team. And what's interesting as well is that during pre-season, we seem to have switched to a 4-4-2. Now, I'm not sure if that's something that Moyes is going to adopt fully. I did a video which should be dropping soon, or may already have dropped, I'm not entirely sure, about Moyes' change of system. I didn't actually mention the 4-4-2 in that system because I don't think that's something Moyes will be gearing towards, but he's played a 4-4-2 for most of pre-season, opting for 2 strikers up top. And having that option means that Mubama has a decent chance of getting in the first team next season, or this season, sorry. And it's been interesting to see how that's played, because I actually don't think a 4-4-2 works. I think the only way you play with 2 strikers up top is if you play a 3-5-2, which honestly could be an option for us. Playing Mubama and Skamaka up top, Jared Bowen on the right, Fornals on the left. Obviously, that kind of means you don't use your fullbacks. Emerson, I think, could play left mid anyway. And then you've got your midfielders. So that could be an option, I think, for David Moyes come the start of the season. Obviously, he's only playing the 4-4-2 at the moment. I just don't think that works. I don't know a club that plays 4-4-2 effectively. For me, it doesn't work. It's outdated. Maybe I'm being naive in that, but I think the only way you play 2 up top is with a 3-5-2, which, like I said, I could see David Moyes adopting. But it is interesting to see him move to this formation. I don't think we'll start the season with it. I think we will recycle back to the 4-3-3 truth be told. But I think David Mubama is giving himself a really, really good chance of getting in this first team. If I'm David Moyes right now, quite honestly, I'd be quite happy to let Antonio go and maybe even Ings too, because I genuinely think he's that ready. And with academy players, sometimes you don't want to put them in too soon. And we know that Moyes is very, very, very pragmatic about when he allows these youth players to come into the side. I mean, I'll use Midfield Rebecca as an example. I think fans were begging for him to start in many games for West Ham come the back end. I think it was the previous season before last. He played 3 or 4 games, didn't really do much, didn't score. And then after that, he just sort of fell off a cliff. Most people don't really recognise him as a West Ham player at the moment. So you do worry that if you don't score within the first 3 or 4 games as a West Ham academy player, you're going to be written off and then your career's kind of over. So I do get Moyes' hesitance to not play him in maybe this season, but he's definitely given a case for himself. And someone else has given a case for himself is Freddie Potts. Now, a lot of people are hailing him as like a Declan Rice regen. I think his passing is second to none. Not quite on Rice's level. I know people have said that they think his passing is actually better than Rice's. I really rate Rice's passing, so I don't necessarily think it's quite on that level, but he's young and he's got a really good chance of breaking through the first team this season. Again, we are desperate for a DM and, we're in 4 competitions. There's no reason why Freddie Potts cannot make a case for himself in this West Ham side. But then again, Flim Downs also wants to make a case for himself in this West Ham side. So there's definitely competition for that number 6 spot. And to be fair, if I was Freddie Potts, I'd say, look, you can go out and spend 40, 45 million on a Declan Rice replacement, or you can trust me and, I'll be Declan Rice replacement, because the way he's played in this pre-season, he has looked really, really good. He needs to work on defensive awareness. He's not as good as cutting up play as Declan Rice was, but again, we're talking about Declan Rice here. He went for 105 million. It would be tough to compare him to a player who's basically just broken through the academy and obviously signed his 3-year deal. But there are things that Freddie Potts does that I would say are on par with Declan Rice, but there are things that he's not quite there yet, which Declan Rice did when he left the club. So I still feel as though we probably do need to sign a DM. I think Mubama's got more of a case to start for West Ham this season than Freddie Potts does, because it's such an important position in the team. It'd be tough to push him in there. But I certainly think he'll be making an appearance this season, and he could be one of our breakthrough players. Also, another player who people have been keeping an eye on is Gianluca Scamacca. He scored against Tottenham yesterday, or today, sorry, as of recording. His celebrations were a bit muted. He didn't look... It didn't give me the feel of like, you haters can hate, but I'm here to stay. I'm here to score goals. It did feel like quite a flat celebration. I don't want to read into it too much, but if it were me and people made out that I wanted to leave the club and I just scored a goal in pre-season to put us 3-2 up against our rivals, I think I'd probably celebrate a little bit better, or at least do some sort of gesture. He didn't really look too bothered. And whether that's just because it's not an arrogance thing necessarily, but he's sort of like, he's sort of going for like the cold approach. He scored a goal and he just sort of, there's no reaction because he's like, yeah, that's what I can do. So maybe close your mouth. He's someone I'm desperate to have a really good pre-season. He's obviously doing better with a striker up top with him. And I think we kind of knew that he would need that. Either that or he needs to adopt the Harry Kane role of dropping in a little bit deeper. So he's someone that I think has had a decent pre-season so far. He's been on par with Danny Ings, I think, as well, who, truth be told, has had a good pre-season. He looks a lot better than he did last season. He's definitely got his shooting boots on. Whether this is like a new era for Baldings or, I'm not sure. But he does look quite good in pre-season. And another player who I'm desperate to get back into the West Ham lineup. And, I've done a video on potential number 8s for the club, and I think we've got a perfect one sat right here, is Pablo Fornals. Towards the back end of last season, I think he made a really good case for himself to get back into that first team. And seeing him in pre-season in this central role in the midfield, he's been pulling the strings. He's been brilliant. He got an assist against Tottenham, and I think he's been really, really good so far in pre-season. I would love to see him adopt a number 8 role. I think selling Souček is a must now. We sell Souček, invest the money somewhere else, and we've got Fornals and a new number 8. I think that's our midfield for this season. He's really, really impressed me, and it's good to see him get back into the lineup. Obviously, some players haven't featured during pre-season. They're on international duty. Paqueta's still not due to be back just yet. Vlad's just come back. Souček's just come back. So it'll be interesting to see what approach David Moyes takes to other pre-season games with his full squad in mind. Is he going to try out a new formation? Is he going to try out some new candidates? Is he, does he know his first team at this point? Because it's a very difficult situation. One, with the idea that you're trying to sign all these players, and two, with the fact you've got so many first team players that want to get back in the first team, and the academy players too. Got to give a shout out as well to Fabianski. I think he's been brilliant during pre-season. It's thought that Areola is going to take the number 1 role this season, but I honestly can't see Moyes giving it up to Areola for Fabianski. And I honestly don't blame him, to be honest. He's been brilliant. Emerson as well, I think, has really hit his stride in pre-season. He's grabbed quite a few assists. He's going forward a lot more. So he's really impressed me, and I'm quite happy to see him back in the lineup for West Ham. And of course, it wouldn't be a West Ham video if we weren't talking about Jared Bowen, the poster boy. He's been brilliant all pre-season as well. I'm really excited to see him get back in that first team. Hopefully hit the form that he was hitting when he was, rumoured for the England squad. So I think maybe that got in his head a bit last season, and that's why he started off the season a bit poorly, although every West Ham player started the season a bit poorly. So maybe it's not too much to read into. But, I mean, all in all, it's a very, very positive start to the season. 3 wins from 3, 13 goals scored, 5 goals conceded. There's not a lot we can really complain about. The only issue for me, I think, is that we are at risk of repeating last season in that we aren't going to sign players in time to have a decent pre-season. But if you think about it, this is like our pre-season Mark II. None of our players last season were able to get a decent pre-season, and we had 8 players coming in. So at least this pre-season, Moyes can implement a proper plan for his players to just play a little bit more. Obviously, the more this squad plays together, the more they understand each other, the better the squad's going to be. And realistically, we have no injuries from these games. Academy players are scoring. Academy players are starring for us. There's not really a lot I can say about this preseason. It would be interesting to see where the preseason goes. Obviously, 11th of August, 12th of August, I think the season kicks off. We've got just under a month to get some signings. I would love just to sign 2 or 3 of them, at least the number 6 and the midfielder, who seems to be the biggest signings for us at the moment, and make sure that we know what our striker situation is. If Scamacca's going to leave, make sure he leaves now and get a replacement in. If he's not going to leave, build a squad around him and integrate him into the squad. I really, really would like our number 6 and number 8 sorted, so they can have at least 3 or 4 pre-season games. Just, because a new midfield is quite a big thing. A whole new midfield of a new number 6, a new number 8, and building Paqueta in there, and potentially a new system as well. We are in danger of doing the same thing we did last season, in that we're not going to be prepared enough, and they're not going to play with each other enough. They're going to need to settle in, and then we'll be playing catch-up all season, and we really don't want to do that. But we are hitting good form into pre-season. Hopefully it runs into the new season. But, as they say, it's only pre-season.